Good afternoon. My name is Kayla Arcilla.
And I'm Brenda Wynn.
And welcome to Government Today. Our first topic today is suffrage. What is it and how does it work? Here to tell us all about it is our government correspondent, Alan Alves.
Thanks, Kayla. Suffrage. You've heard of it, but do you know what it is? Also known as franchising, it means the right to vote. Suffrage has been expanding for over a century. It originally was only granted to white male property owners. It was Benjamin Franklin who said, "This man owns only a donkey, and if it dies, he loses the right to vote. So in whose right is it to vote, the man or the donkey?" Today, suffrage has expanded a lot. The American electorate is truly impressive. Some 22 million people now have the ability to vote. Back to you, Kayla.
Our next topic this evening is universal voting requirements. There are certain requirements to be able to vote in elections, such as citizenship, residency, and age. You must be a citizen of the United States and have a residency in the state you plan to vote in. We wouldn't want any foreign tourists taking part in our election now, would we? Also, the legal voting age requirement here in the U.S. is 18. This was first put in order with the 26th Amendment. During the 1960s, the draft was taking young 18-year-old boys to fight in the war. Many saw a problem with this, making the young fight for our country but not allowing them to vote in our election. Thus, the 26th Amendment was ratified on July 1st, 1971.
How interesting. I should register to vote now. Next up, the registration process. Our informant, John Gurrow, has the latest scoop. John?
Thanks, Kayla. Our top story today is the registration process. What most people don't realize is that the main purpose of the registration process is to prevent deceptive voting through faulty identification. When registering, one must state their legal name, age, place of birth, current address, and years of residency within the state, and other similar facts. A voter can be removed from the registered list due to moving, death, conviction of a serious crime, or committed to a mental institute. Now, when someone moves to a different state, that does not mean that they are no longer eligible to vote. They must simply register again to be able to vote within that new state. Back to you, Kayla.
In other news, past voting qualifications have been raised into question. Should these methods be brought back to us, or should they stay in the past? These methods include poll taxes and literacy tests. Back in the 1960s, these specific ways were used to prevent the African Americans from voting. This included the grandfather clause, which states that if your grandfather voted in a past election, you didn't have to take the literacy test or pay for a poll tax. However, since they just got out of slavery, no African American grandfathers voted, thus still preventing them to vote. Brenda, can you tell me the solution of these problems, please?
That's a really good question, Kayla, but I think John has a better answer than I do. Let's see what he's cooking up over there.
All right, Brenda. Let me break it down for you. The definition of the 15th Amendment states that only the U.S. citizens are allowed to vote. This also gets rid of any race-based voting requirements such as the poll tax and literacy test. This was a major step in civil rights for African Americans.
All right, thanks, John, for that insight. Next up, the Civil Rights Act and its history in America. Alan?
The Civil Rights Act of 1957 set up the United States Civil Rights Commission. In 1960, additional safeguards were added to protect the rights of the people. However, individuals were still finding ways around these laws. So in 1964, another Civil Rights Act was passed that outlawed discrimination in many forms. Another civil rights victory came in the form of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. This made the 15th Amendment a more effective and stronger part of the U.S. Constitution. It finally led to the end of poll taxes and literacy tests.
Lastly, voting behavior. The study of voting behavior includes past elections and the studies of political socialism. Results have shown the sociological and psychological factors are what influenced voters. The sociological factors are a voter's way of learning how to vote. This includes circumstances such as education, gender, income, religion, and so on. So on the other hand, the psychological factors are circumstances looked beyond the perception of politics and the use of party identification.
Well, that's all we have for you this afternoon. We'll report more as it arrives. I'm Brenda.
And I'm Kayla.
Have a nice day.
Thanks, Kayla. What's my line?
I'm Brenda.
And I'm Kayla.
Have a wonderful day.